Stoicism, as a philosophical school, penetrates into the very depths of human existence, offering not just abstract ideas, but also practical methods of applying philosophy in everyday life. Its main principle is the development of inner strength and wisdom to achieve harmony and tranquility in a variety of situations. Here are 12 powerful historical techniques, each of which is a valuable tool for expanding your intellectual potential and enriching your life. The principle of accepting fate, or amor fati, is a fundamental principle of Stoicism that encourages us to accept all events in life without resistance and look at them as opportunities for personal growth and development. This concept, although it may seem simple at first glance, actually requires us to have a deep understanding and application in everyday life. Accepting fate does not mean inaction or passivity in the face of life circumstances. On the contrary, it is an active and conscious choice to treat what is happening with wisdom and calmness. This means realizing that we cannot always control external events or the world around us, but we can always choose how we react to them. Accepting fate helps us stop wasting energy on useless struggles and confrontations of life. Instead, we can channel this energy into self-development and the search for opportunities for personal growth. Instead of seeing difficulties and failures as obstacles, we can view them as opportunities for learning and improvement. Accepting fate requires us to be open and flexible in our thinking. This means that we must be ready to see meaning and value in every experience, even if it initially seems negative or difficult. It also means that we must be willing to let go of our expectations and preconceived judgments about what our life should look like, and accept it for what it is. Accepting fate also involves becoming aware of your own limitations and shortcomings. This means that we must be ready to admit our mistakes and failures and use them as opportunities for growth and improvement. Ultimately, accepting fate allows us to live more consciously and creatively. It helps us to get rid of unnecessary stress and anxiety and focus on what is really important to us. By accepting fate, we discover new horizons of possibilities and become wiser and more compassionate people. Overcoming the fear of death is an important aspect of Stoic philosophy, represented by the principle of the Mory Moment. This principle calls on us to realize the infinite potential of the present moment and give up the illusion of control over the future, which in turn frees us from the fear of death. Death is an integral part of life, and the fear of it is often one of the deepest and most pervasive fears that influence our behavior and decisions. However, the Stoics urge us to look at death differently, as a natural process that is inevitable for all living beings. They argue that understanding the infinite potential of the present moment helps us free ourselves from the fear of an unknown future. The Mory Moment reminds us that the only thing we really have is the present moment. The future is unknown and unpredictable, and the past is already gone and cannot be changed. Therefore, the fear of death, as often followed by fear of the unknown, is only a manifestation of our inability to accept the present and live in it completely. In addition, the realization that we do not control the future allows us to free ourselves from the fear of death. We can do everything we can to maintain health and safety, but ultimately our time on Earth is not subject to our desires or plans. Understanding this fact allows us to free ourselves from the burden of fear and enjoy every moment of life fully and consciously. Overcoming the fear of death does not mean denying its reality or significance. Rather, it is the realization that fear will not change anything and only deprives us of the opportunity to live a full and meaningful life. By adopting the principle of the Mory Moment, we can gain freedom from fear and learn to appreciate every moment of life, knowing that it may be the last. The principle of dividing into things over which we have control and those over which we do not, or dikarchi, is a key element of Stoic philosophy. This principle will teach us to focus on changing what is in our power and accept the inevitability of uncontrollable events. In life, we often encounter situations that are beyond our control. These may be external circumstances, decisions of other people, or natural phenomena. Stoics urge us not to waste energy trying to change what really lies beyond our control, but instead focus on what we can control: our thoughts, reactions, and actions. Dividing into things that we have control over and those that we don't helps us avoid unnecessary stress and anxiety. We free ourselves from the need to try to control every aspect of our lives and begin to accept what we cannot change. This allows us to maintain inner harmony and calmness, even in the face of difficult and unexpected events. At the same time, by focusing on what we can change, we can achieve greater success and satisfaction. We can choose our reactions to situations, manage our thoughts and emotions, and make proactive decisions that align with our goals and values. The principle of Daisharshi also helps us develop personal responsibility for our lives. We stop waiting for someone or something to change our situation and begin to take responsibility for our actions and results. This allows us to become more effective and emotionally stable people, able to successfully cope with the challenges and uncertainties of life. The principle of abstinence or selection plays an important role in Stoic philosophy, helping us to be able to choose important tasks and abandon unnecessary thoughts or actions. This principle helps to keep our mind clear and effective in our efforts. In a world saturated with information and various stimuli, our attention is often blurred on a variety of small and unimportant tasks. The principle of abstinence will teach us to focus on what really matters to us and to give up what distracts our attention from our main goals and objectives. Choosing the tasks and thoughts that we pay attention to is a key aspect of success and productivity. The principle of selectivity helps us to prioritize and focus on what is really important to us at a given time. This allows us to effectively use our resources, time, energy, and attention to achieve our goals and objectives. One of the important aspects of the principle of abstinence is the ability to give up unnecessary or harmful thoughts and actions. This may include giving up negative thoughts and beliefs that can undermine our well-being and self-confidence, as well as giving up bad habits or behaviors that can interfere with our development and growth. Maintaining mental clarity is an important aspect of our well-being and success. The principle of abstinence helps us avoid excessive fragmentation and anxiety, as well as preserve our ability to think clearly and rationally. This allows us to make more deliberate and informed decisions, as well as respond effectively to changing situations and challenges of life. Ultimately, the principle of abstinence helps us create a more balanced and harmonious life based on our true values and priorities. This allows us to live more consciously and fully, achieving our goals and aspirations without excessive stress and anxiety. The principle of an objective view, or katakon, is one of the important principles of Stoic philosophy, which encourages us to consider situations from different points of view and strive for objectivity in evaluating events and people. This principle plays a key role in the development of our intelligence and wisdom. Stoics teach us that our perception of the world and our judgments are often distorted by our own biases, emotions, and beliefs. The katakon principle urges us to be prudent and careful in our judgments, as well as to consider situations from different points of view in order to get a more complete and objective understanding of them. Looking at situations from different perspectives helps us understand that there are many different ways to interpret the same event. This helps us to avoid narrow thinking and bias, as well as to see things more fully and objectively. As a result, we can make more informed and wise decisions based on real facts and circumstances. Striving for objectivity in evaluating events and people also helps us avoid mistakes and conflicts that may arise due to our own biased judgments and emotional reactions. We learn to look at the world from a broader perspective based on facts and evidence, rather than on our subjective beliefs and assumptions. The katakon principle also helps us develop empathy and empathy for other people by understanding their point of view and motives. It promotes better understanding and tolerance, as well as strengthens our relationships with others. Ultimately, the principle of an objective view helps us to become wiser and more educated people, able to see the world as it is and make wise and thoughtful decisions in any situation. This opens up new horizons of knowledge and understanding for us, allowing us to grow and develop as individuals. The principle of petition and forgiveness, or charizia, plays a significant role in Stoic philosophy, teaching us to understand that mistakes in life are an inevitable part of our path, both our own and others, and the ability to forgive ourselves and others for them. A life filled with diverse events and interactions inevitably includes moments when we or others make mistakes. The principle of charisma teaches us not to blame ourselves or others for these mistakes. but instead to accept them as an integral part of the learning and growth process. Forgiving oneself for mistakes is an important aspect of personal development and self-improvement. Stoics urge us to be self-indulgent and understand that we are all, without exception, human beings who make mistakes at times. Accepting and forgiving ourselves for these mistakes allows us to free ourselves from guilt and shame, as well as continue to move forward with new lessons and experiences. Forgiving others for their mistakes is also an important aspect of interpersonal relationships and spiritual development. Stoics teach us to see in other people not only their mistakes, but also their humanity, and encourage us to show them compassion and understanding. Forgiveness allows us to free ourselves from anger and resentment, which can only poison our relationships and hinder our own happiness. The principle of charisma also teaches us to appreciate the true meaning of mistakes as an opportunity for growth and improvement. Instead of seeing them as failure or defeat, we can view them as a chance to study and correct our actions, as well as an opportunity to develop our own qualities and skills. Ultimately, understanding and applying the principle of forgiveness helps us become more compassionate and empathetic people, able to see every mistake as an opportunity for growth and development. This allows us to build more harmonious and happy relationships with ourselves and others, as well as overcome life's difficulties and trials with wisdom and dignity. The principle of continuous improvement, or selection of progression, is one of the basic principles of Stoic philosophy, which will teach us to strive for self-improvement and development regardless of the results achieved. Striving for continuous improvement is important for our personal growth and well-being. Stoics claim that the development and improvement of oneself is a continuous process that should not stop at any stage of life. The principle of progression selection will teach us to appreciate continuous progress and constant striving for the best. It is important to understand that continuous improvement does not necessarily mean striving to achieve perfection or an ideal. The Stoics teach us that it is important to take steps forward, even if they seem insignificant, and not stop for fear of failure or imperfection. It is important to accept the fact that we are imperfect and will always have something to strive for improvement. The principle of progression selection helps us to free ourselves from expectations and preconceived judgments about what our life should be like. Instead, we can focus on what we can control: our thoughts, actions, and reactions. We can decide what to do with this moment and what steps to take for our personal development and growth. Progression selection also helps us to see the value in every experience and lesson, even if they seem unpleasant or unpleasant. Instead of viewing failures as defeats, we can view them as opportunities for growth and self-discovery. Every bad experience can be a lesson that helps us become stronger and wiser. The principle of progression selection reminds us that life is a continuous process of change and development. We can take every day as a new opportunity to improve ourselves and our lives and strive for the best, despite any obstacles or difficulties we may face. The principle of aversion from obstacles, or apathy in Stoic philosophy, is the rejection of the emotional influence of external factors and concentration on internal goals and values. This principle plays an important role in ensuring inner harmony and tranquility, regardless of what is happening in the world around us. Apathy in the Stoic sense should not be confused with indifference or apathy in the usual sense of the word. Rather, it is a state of inner balance and equanimity in front of external influences. Stoics teach us that our emotions and reactions often depend on our perception of external events, and that we can control our reactions to them if we pay attention to our inner goals and values. Rejecting the emotional influence of external factors allows us to free ourselves from fluctuations in our mood and emotional outbursts that can interfere with our peace and sanity. We learn to see events solely as objects of observation, without emotional attachment to them, which allows us to make more deliberate and informed decisions. Focusing on internal goals and values allows us to keep a clear idea of what is really important to us in life. Instead of reacting to every external stimulus or influence, we can focus on what really matters to us and our personal development. Apathy also helps us develop inner strength and resilience in the face of the trials and difficulties of life. We learn to remain calm and focused even in the face of challenges and injustices, realizing that we cannot control external circumstances, but we can always control our reactions to them. Ultimately, the principle of apathy helps us live more consciously and creatively. We are freed from the influence of emotions and passions that can obscure our minds and interfere with our personal growth. This allows us to make more thoughtful and wise decisions, as well as build more harmonious and happy relationships with ourselves and others. Coping with difficulties, or eupatheia, is an important principle of Stoic philosophy, which consists in developing the ability to maintain emotional calm and mental clarity in difficult situations. The Stoics teach us that life inevitably presents a series of trials, difficulties, and obstacles. However, the reaction to these difficulties is determined not so much by the situation itself as by our inner attitude towards it. The principle of eupatheia will teach us to accept difficulties as an integral part of life and respond to them with equanimity and calmness. Developing the ability to maintain emotional calm in difficult situations requires practice and effort. This includes the ability to control your emotions, not succumb to outbursts of anger, fear, or anxiety, and remain clear and reasonable even in the most difficult circumstances. One of the key aspects of the principle of empathy is the realization that we cannot control external events or circumstances, but we can always control our reactions to them. This means that instead of falling into despair or panic, we can accept the situation as it is and solve problems with composure and judgment. The ability to maintain emotional calm and mental clarity also allows us to make more deliberate and informed decisions in difficult situations. We do not succumb to emotional outbursts or preconceived judgments, but instead are guided by logic and reason to find the best solution. In addition, the development of the principle of eupatheia helps us overcome the fear of the unknown and uncertainty. We learn to see difficulties as an opportunity for growth and development, and not as an obstacle in our path. This allows us to look at life with optimism and confidence, even in the most difficult moments. Ultimately, the principle of eupatheia helps us live a more balanced and meaningful life. We do not succumb to emotional fluctuations or external influences, but instead rely on inner confidence and wisdom to overcome difficulties and build a happy and conscious life. The principle of gratitude, or haprisi, is an important aspect of Stoic philosophy, which consists in realizing grace in every moment of life and the value of what is already there. This principle reminds us of the importance of recognition and gratitude for all the benefits and opportunities that we have, even in the face of difficulties and trials. The main idea of the principle of charisma is to be able to see goodness and benevolence in every aspect of life, including simple joys, moments of happiness, as well as difficulties and trials. This allows us to maintain a positive and complacent attitude, even in the face of life's challenges. Realizing grace in every moment of life helps us overcome negative emotions such as fear, anxiety, and dissatisfaction, and instead focus on what is truly important and valuable. We learn to see in every situation an opportunity for growth and development, as well as to appreciate what we already have. The principle of charisma also helps us develop a sense of gratitude and appreciation for those who contributed to our lives, whether they are family, friends, colleagues, or strangers. We learn to appreciate and show appreciation for the kindness and support we receive from other people. Gratitude also helps to strengthen our relationships with others. When we express our gratitude and appreciation to others, we strengthen ties and create an atmosphere of mutual understanding and support. This contributes to the improvement of our well-being and happiness, as well as contributes to the formation of a positive social community. The principle of gratitude also reminds us of the importance of recognizing that life is a gift and that we should appreciate every moment that is given to us. We learn to live consciously and intensely, enjoying the little things and appreciating every day as a special and unique gift. Ultimately, the principle of charisma helps us create a happier and more fulfilled life, based on a sense of gratitude and appreciation for all the benefits and opportunities that we have. This allows us to overcome difficulties and trials with optimism and confidence, knowing that we have many reasons for gratitude and joy. The principle of expanding the circle of empathy, or oikeiesis, in Stoic philosophy, is the development of empathy and empathy for others, which contributes to a better understanding of people and their motivations. Stoics claim that it is natural for a person to strive for self-preservation and care for their loved ones, but often this attention is limited only to the circle of their own family or friends. The principle of oikeiesis calls on us to expand this circle and include all people in it, accepting them as part of a common human family. Developing empathy and empathy for others allows us to better understand the feelings, needs, and motivations of others. We stop seeing them as just strangers, but begin to perceive them as equals, respecting their right to happiness and well-being. The principle of oikeiesis also helps us develop deeper and better relationships with other people. When we show empathy and understanding for their feelings and needs, we create an atmosphere of mutual understanding and support, which helps strengthen our bonds and relationships. Expanding the circle of empathy also helps us to see in other people not only their weaknesses and shortcomings, but also their strengths and potential. We learn to accept people for who they are and see value and uniqueness in them, which contributes to the creation of warmer and friendlier public relations. The principle of oikeiesis also helps us develop more ethical and responsible behavior in relationships with other people. When we show empathy and empathy for others, we become more sensitive to their needs and more inclined to help and support, which makes our world a more friendly and harmonious place. Ultimately, the principle of expanding the circle of empathy helps us build a more empathetic, sympathetic, and understanding society. We learn to see in each person not just a stranger, but a part of ourselves, which contributes to the creation of a more unified and interactive world where everyone feels recognized, respected, and loved. The principle of life delight, or xenoxia, is an important aspect of Stoic philosophy, which consists in tuning into joy and delight from the simple joys of life, even in the face of adverse events. Stoics argue that the source of our happiness does not always depend on external circumstances, but rather on our inner attitude towards them. The principle of xenoxia will teach us to see beauty and joy in small things, enjoy simple pleasures, and appreciate every moment of life, despite possible difficulties or trials. The mood of joy and delight allows us to experience life to the fullest and enjoy every moment. We learn to accept all events, whatever they may be, with an open heart and gratitude, seeing in them an opportunity for joy and delight. The principle of xenoxia also helps us to free ourselves from negative emotions such as anger, fear, or anxiety, and instead focus on the positive aspects of life. We learn to accept the past with peace and gratitude, enjoy the present moment, and look to the future with optimism and hope. The development of the principle of life delight also helps to strengthen our psychological health and well-being. When we are able to find joy and delight even in small joys, we become more resistant to stress and the negative influences of the outside world. The principle of xenoxia also helps us to see the value of every person and every moment of life. We learn to appreciate friendship, love, nature, art, and all the other joys and pleasures that surround us. Ultimately, the principle of life delight helps us build a happier and more satisfied life full of joy, delight, and prosperity. We learn to see beauty in every day, joy in every moment, and happiness in every breath, which makes our lives more meaningful, harmonious, and amazing. In conclusion, it can be emphasized that Stoic philosophy offers us not just a set of principles, but a way of life that promotes harmony, wisdom, and happiness. The principles of Stoicism take into account both internal and external factors, helping us to develop the qualities necessary for a meaningful and prosperous life. Accepting fate, overcoming the fear of death, dividing into things that we have control over and those that we do not have. The principles of abstinence, an objective view, forgiveness and forgiveness, constant improvement, aversion from obstacles, the ability to cope with difficulties, the principles of gratitude, expanding the circle of empathy, and life delight, all of them. They make up an extensive set of tools that helps us become the best versions of ourselves. By adopting these principles, we can learn to build more harmonious relationships with ourselves, others, and the world as a whole. We can develop the ability to see meaning and value in every moment of life, even in difficult times. As a result, we come to a more conscious and satisfying life full of meaning, joy, and well-being. Like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more similar videos. See you in the next episode.